Welcome back to the channel. Watch the video until the end, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel to support us. Imagine the Earth cracking open for hundreds of kilometers, the ground shaking, and hundreds of thousands of people fleeing. Forget the big one. Something much worse is coming. What many people don't understand is that our planet is constantly threatened by disasters capable of destroying our global order in seconds. In the United States, people have feared the arrival of a calamity known as the Big One for a century. Meanwhile, an even graver scenario is taking shape and approaching us. How safe are we on this planet? Humanity's sense of security has significantly increased thanks to growing global peace and our increasing prosperity. However, despite a comfortable life and daily problems, we humans tend to overlook a terrible truth. There are at least 3 scenarios that could destroy our world as we know it, from one moment to the next. 2 of these threats come directly from our planet, while the third, a horrible danger, is lurking from space. In the United States, a gigantic crack in the ground opened more than 100 years ago, threatening to shake dangerously. The African continent has been splitting from north to south since 2005 due to an increase in earthquakes worldwide. Geologists fear that something unpredictable is happening inside our planet. For millions of years, Earth has undergone severe changes, accompanied by the uplift and subsidence of land masses. Oceans have formed and disappeared, and the same has happened with land masses. Even today, for many decades, we have enjoyed a perhaps deceptive calm. The Earth is in turmoil, and almost a dozen supervolcanoes are forming worldwide, whose eruptions could plunge the globe into chaos at any moment. But apart from land cracks or giant volcanoes, both scenarios pale in comparison to the impact of a gigantic asteroid. And this disaster could strike us at any time. It's strange how we humans live day after day on a planet that knows enormous disasters or that could be hit by a bullet from space, and we don't worry about it at all. It seems almost unbelievable, given the warnings of catastrophe, that in a region where the Earth could collapse from one moment to the next, millions of people continue to live as if nothing happened. In the American state of California, a fault opened during a strong earthquake in 1906, and since then it has crossed the Earth as a warning. The Rift Valley, much older in origin, formed about 1530 million years ago. During the Great Earthquake of 1906, the fault moved dangerously, and an earthquake of magnitude 7.8 devastated San Francisco in particular. The shock alone destroyed much of the city, and fires that raged for days reduced much of the Californian metropolis to rubble. Over 3,000 people lost their lives along the entire San Andreas Fault, and countless people lost their homes. Today, the entire San Andreas Fault stretches over 1,300 km and is considered one of the most geologically active regions on the planet. Along its borders lie metropolitan cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego. In the event of another catastrophe, over 24 million people within a 100 km radius would be affected. People are aware of the threat, but the sufferings and horrors of 1906 have long been forgotten. Cities like Los Angeles continue to be among the most fascinating metropolises in the world, despite the risk. However, computer simulations have shown that the tension in the area has increased so dramatically that it will have to be released in the coming years. This could mark the arrival of the Big One, the earthquake that will release the tension. According to predictions, the intensity could range between 7.8 and 8.2 on the Richter scale. The horror of 1906 could therefore recur at any moment. In 1906, the area was even less densely populated. The Big One would surely cause greater damage, and evacuations of cities with millions of inhabitants would be practically impossible. But the Big One is not at all the worst scenario that the inhabitants of the region must fear. Experts also warn of the real Big One, a mega earthquake of magnitude 9 that will surely come. It's just a matter of when. Along the Cascadia subduction zone, which extends off the Pacific coast of North America, from Northern California to Vancouver Island in Canada, the Juan de Fuca plate has pushed so much under the North American plate that the tension will eventually be released in a devastating shock. This monstrous earthquake could cause a huge tsunami that would devastate the entire west coast of the United States and the coastal areas of Central, South America, and Canada. The possibilities of destruction of the Big One and the real Big One are so vast that we can barely imagine them. But all these terrible scenarios are nothing compared to the silent threat coming from space. In Christmas 2004, the world was shocked by events in Asia, when the century's tsunami devastated Thailand, Sri Lanka, some coasts of Indonesia, and other neighboring countries, killing more than 100,000 people. Almost unnoticed at that time, equally worrying news, scientists had identified a new asteroid, Apophis, in the night sky, which promised nothing good. An object about 370 meters in diameter was on a collision course with Earth. Fortunately, after recalculating its orbit, it was clear that it would miss us. However, the shock was palpable and future scenarios are concerning. Apophis is relatively small, but an impact would still be devastating, capable of shaking other parts of the Earth and wiping out entire regions. If the first prediction had come true, Apophis would likely have hit us somewhere in the Pacific in 2036, and 5-story high waves would have threatened the coasts of America and Oceania. But that's not all. The further consequences of an asteroid impact like Apophis could cause global climate changes, an increase in volcanic activity, and ecosystem disruptions hard to calculate. Asteroid or comet impacts are among the worst scenarios that could hit humanity. About 2,200 potentially hazardous asteroids are lurking in space. We have been lucky so far, but the history of Earth teaches us that large impacts have occurred in the past, often changing the course of life on the planet. Millions of years ago, the Earth was hit more often, and it is believed that there were phases in our planet's history when asteroids and comets literally rained down on the Earth's surface. Even today, we are not safe from these events. Smaller asteroids hit the Earth with some frequency, and while most of them burn up in the atmosphere, some past events demonstrate the destructive potential of these space rocks. In 2013, the Chelyabinsk meteor, entering the lower layers of the atmosphere, caused significant damage and injured many people in the Russian city of the same name. Fortunately, there were no fatalities. The Tunguska event of 1908, in which an asteroid, probably smaller than Apophis, fell on Earth, was enough to destroy thousands of square kilometers of forest in Siberia, demonstrating the destructive power of these objects. If Apophis were to hit land masses, the effects would be even worse. The impact alone would cause a shock to the Earth's crust, destroying buildings, infrastructure, and vegetation in the immediate impact area and for hundreds of kilometers around. The kinetic energy of the impact would send shock waves through the Earth and the atmosphere, causing further destruction. The heat generated by the impact could trigger fires over vast areas, and the impact could also trigger earthquakes well beyond the immediate impact region. Depending on the impact location, chain reactions could occur. If the asteroid hits the Earth in a geologically tense region or near a supervolcano, volcanic eruptions could occur. Dust clouds and particles released into the atmosphere could block sunlight for weeks, potentially leading to a nuclear winter that would cause a global climate catastrophe, crop failures, and widespread economic problems. An impact in water would cause a tsunami wave, the power of which should not be underestimated. Experts suspect that in the past there have been massive tsunamis that traversed the world, most likely caused by asteroids or comets. Our Earth is a sensitive and complex system. We don't know the long-term effects of such an event, and we can currently only base our predictions on computer simulations. We will know exactly what to expect only when the time comes. How many threatening asteroids are there? Can you imagine that there are more than 2,000 objects flying in space that experts consider a serious threat to Earth? Even further away in the solar system, in the Oort cloud, there are thousands of comets that could be pulled toward the center by the sun at any moment. We still do not know precisely what mechanisms push asteroids and comets to head toward the sun. The destination of these dangerous pieces of rock is never Earth. We are just an obstacle when they fly toward the sun in their normal orbits. They make a loop around the star, then move away again to be attracted once more. Some comets orbit so much around the sun that they visit us only every few hundred or thousand years. Smaller asteroids, like Apophis, instead cross the Earth's orbit with some frequency. Presumably, it is the complex interaction of the gravitational forces of all the objects in the solar system that causes asteroids and comets to make their dangerous journeys through the system. Gas giants like Jupiter exert considerable forces on other celestial bodies, and over long periods of time, a kind of struggle occurs between the planets. If a relatively small object, like an asteroid, is pushed out of the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter due to a gravitational shift, it could fly toward the sun. If on this journey we found ourselves in the middle, we would simply be unlucky. In conclusion, our existence on Earth is dotted with a series of natural threats, ranging from terrestrial phenomena like earthquakes and volcanoes to dangers from space like asteroids and comets. Even as technology and science advance, improving our ability to prevent and respond to such events, uncertainty remains a constant factor. It's important to continue the research and development of early warning systems, as well as risk mitigation strategies, to protect life and infrastructure on Earth. Awareness and preparedness are key to facing these unpredictable and potentially catastrophic threats. In this context of uncertainty, space exploration and Earth observation play a crucial role. Satellites and telescopes allow us to monitor asteroids, predict their trajectories, and potentially divert them before they can impact our planet. Similarly, the global network of seismographs and volcanic monitoring stations provides valuable data to anticipate and react to earthquakes and eruptions. Despite the challenges, humanity has demonstrated the resilience and ingenuity necessary to face and overcome adversity. By continuing to invest in research, technology, and international cooperation, we can hope to navigate more safely through the vast and unpredictable universe that surrounds us.